Hi everyone, this is Tanya. Thanks for watching this video and giving my channel a chance. This is take two. Yeah. So we know I am still learning the ins and outs of doing YouTube videos, what works for me best, or to learn and grow. So yeah. So instead of making this a bit as rambly as the other one was and such, I'm just going to go into actually what this is for, maybe cut off a little bit, because again, I get a bit rambly. But yes, I do say that my videos are a little rough and stuff, but I am ever evolving. And like I said, learning and growing from what's better, what works, what doesn't, and you learn from your mistakes. That's how life is and should be. A constant, like the card I pulled today, a wheel of fortune, so to say, the ever-growing cycles of life, um, and evolution, and Murphy's Law. So yeah. So this here today is just gonna be hopefully not too long of a rambly video of my I mentioned in my previous videos along the way, in my weekly divination videos, probably on and off over the past couple months, my deep dive into my what is called my spirit deck, soul deck, home deck, whatever. My deck that I've had probably for 24 plus years, give or take, probably a little bit longer than that. I got this deck, the Crowley Thoth, when I was between 18 to 20. So yeah, I'm 44. So there's my age, and matches up with what I said this. This is the first deck I bought and always my go-to deck. She is honest. She is brutal. She is loving and caring. She is insightful. She's a great teacher, a great advisor and alibi. Whatever. Ally, not alibi. Wow. Okay. So, yeah. There we go already with that. So, yeah. Have a good laugh at my expense. Well, I have a good laugh at my own expense. That's the way it should be. If you can't laugh at yourself or take things in stride. That's what I'm trying to learn. To take things a bit better at stride. I'm not perfect. Lots of people make things seem they're perfect. If they do, they're not perfect. That is part of the flaw. So, yeah. So getting back to this, since I've been working with a deck so far, I was originally taught myself from books, just learning and reading books and working with the deck and winging it. And intuitively, as I grew and my knowledge and studies grew, so did my bond and reverence of this deck. Now, however, admittedly so, I have never read the Book of Thoth. I still have not yet, and I probably should have now coming to reflect on this for the future. And a future deep dive with this deck much further down the road is the Book of Thoth should be read, because that would be should be an invaluable and valuable reference to this deck and the overall creation, meaning symbology, in working with her further and better understanding her. However, I do find that before I really wasn't very minimal versed on the Kabbalah. I have, in this deep dive, gained a better foundation and insight. Still a long light years to go in that, but I feel a better understanding by doing this deep dive and working and bonding with this deck and relearning her. I have a greater respect and reverence for the Crowley Thoth deck now. For all the 5 years that it may have taken Crowley and Lady Harris to create this work of art and masterpiece and spiritual tool and guide. She is definitely a high magic deck. Definitely to be respected and revered, and she will teach you all sorts of things. So if you are on the fence about the deck, you don't work with the deck, you have it in your collection, maybe you've been undecided to make that purchase, or you're even you are how you feel about Crowley himself and what type of person he was, go for it. This deck is everything and then some. It will always be my go-to reading deck. My main deck will always be my go-to magical deck, my spiritual deck, and I can only over the years grow a deeper bond with her, and she will help me to know myself better, which is the ultimate goal. One of my ultimate goals in this life is to know myself and to better understand myself, to help better understand this life. The gifts, blessings, and ups and downs of this life, and of course my spiritual practice and that of deity, and my spirit allies, my spirit guides, and my ancestors. So yeah. So I say yeah, and yeah a lot. So as you can see in the background here, what I am going to do is going to be a bit rambly. I can feel this, but yeah, probably a little bit shorter already than the other one was. So the book that you're seeing here, I've had this book for years, and I have been using it on and off for years to work with a Thoth deck. However, I use this as a big integral basis and foundation, along with 2 other books in online, just regular sites and studies I have done in different different avenues, chapters, paths along the way with this too. But I'm just going to mention these 3 books if you are interested in something simple and better understanding, easy to follow, but actually very in-depth at the same time, relatable, but also help you to dive into the deck and the symbology, the esotericism, probably said that wrong, of the deck, yeah. So these are great reference points and tools. Again, I was working with another textbook in this, which I'm not going to mention. I got in and used, did a chunk of it, and then very devotedly, and then I just got frustrated and gave up because it's just so dry and so much. But I have used other bits and pieces, and it has helped. But I'm just not going to, because I didn't fully connect with the book or feel that it's helped me as much as these ones. So, as you can see, I'm not going to even try to say the author's names, because in the last attempt I butchered them. So you can see those for them on yourself at the bottom there. The lovely imagery is the High Priestess card. As you can see, the ultimate guide to the Thoth Tarot. Okay, so this book is great because it's got a few minor 10 minor tip spreads to go from to help honor and relate to the deck. Very simple though, very 101, which is very good to complement a deck for this to make it easier. Different tips for how to use the deck, different things to look for, and how to approach the deck and to work with the deck on a very relatable fashion. Because this deck can be very intimidating. Tarot shouldn't be as intimidating, but it is in many ways. This deck, of course, is one of those. Now, I decided to work with this immediate deck from the beginning, and of course that's because it called to me, and it still calls to me in so many levels, as I keep saying. I cannot rave enough about this deck and how beautiful she is. And I will flip through some of the cards. You're going to see that she's very well beaten up, very well used. She's met hundreds of people and read for hundreds of people. My go-to reading deck, as I mentioned, it's traveled to me to several places, including out of the country. She's been to Salem with me several times, so yes. And you'll see the wear and tear. I do have an older version of it, which I have not used, that was gifted to me, and I do have a newer version that's in the box. Eventually, the one you'll be seeing soon will be a one that eventually I may retire just to keep, but right now I just can't. Even though it's a bit worn and torn, she is well loved, but you'll see, I just can't quite give her up yet to go to another version at this point. So I will have her hanging in there as long as she can, and she'll grow old with me. And yeah. So I'm going all over the place. So thanks for still hanging in here. So this book here, let me show you real quick. I'll do my best to reach over in this. As you can see here, you see on the left-hand side of the page, you see 10 little write-up or thing explaining 10 major symbols in each card. It breaks it down to make it very understandable, relatable, yet detailed and very insightful in helping to understand the imagery in this deck, the aesthetic, and what choices were made and how they relate to the actual use of the deck, and to better understand and deepen the knowledge of the deck, along with the intuitive aspects of the deck. Or if you use books or different things or guidebooks, this will definitely make this deck 100 times more understandable and, again, more user-friendly, so to say. On the right-hand side, you'll see it has a full color of the actual image of the card, has a little write-up at the top, a little quote under the picture, which is great for working with the deck. And then you have a basic meaning of that, the card of the day, tendency of that, spiritual meaning, a little like couple sentences or paragraph of each, which is very helpful. I used this primarily for when I did daily draws, and to further, I read through each card separately and the symbology, and actually studied the card as part of the deep dive. As I mentioned, I was not very much into very knowledgeable about the Kabbalah, the Hebrew letters on the deck, or the Tree of Life, and how this all related. So this helped me to get into that. So again, a great and amazing book. Look at that chariot card. Yes. So give that book a check out if you're working with the Thoth or have to or interested. Very, again, highly recommended. And it's great if you do daily draws because it's very quick, a quick aid, and a great jumping off point. Now, next one is, I haven't used this one too much, but I've had this one for years, and I have used it because it helps you to compare the Rider-Waite system with the Crowley Thoth system. It shows a couple sentences as a guide. It has a little information, tips, and things for each deck, and working with 101, and a little bit more detailed in the beginning. And then inside the actual reference points, as you'll see here, for example, I'm just going to open up so you can see. There we go, that's a little better. So you see, I just opened up to the Magician. You'll see it has an image of the Rider-Waite, the traditional one on the left. To the right, it has the Thoth, and that's the Magician and the Magus. Of course, in the Crowley Thoth, has a little write-up, as you can see right there, with just a simple comparison of both of those in there. And this one has, as you can see down at the bottom, kind of small, but you can see here, has a 4-card spread, and then a couple little sentences for each one, depending on what position it falls in. Now, this book, should I say, is great. I've only used it on and off throughout the years, and a little bit more so with this. Has it given me some knowledge and aids? Yes. Is it great for simple comparison and understanding of the two systems or decks on a very 101 level, I believe? Yes. So recommended for that, but not my first choice or my second choice. Like the first book you saw was definitely is a contender for basically my first choice. It's technically my second choice out of these three. My main choice, and what I just finished reading, and I took extra time in this and extra reference and found this so valuable and so in-depth, yet so relatable, and the author's personal opinion, knowledge of the deck, of Crowley's body of work, how connected he is, his writing style, his verbiage, is definitely in depth and very insightful. Very, very detailed and gross. However, he breaks it down to where it is actually extremely, as I mentioned, relatable and understandable. Whether it had to do with the Kabbalah system, the Hebrew system, the letter system, whether it had to do with the combinations, how certain things related to certain paths on the Tree of Life, the symbolism on each card, how Lady Harris and Crowley created this, the workings and knowledge and tips behind each deck. He definitely did his research. You can definitely tell. I am going to be looking up and researching so much more by this author in the future and further down the road. So I highly recommend this book, Understanding the Electric Crowley Thoth Tarot, by Lon Milo Duquette, new edition. I've had this for years. I thumbed through it on and off, but this, I actually took a deep dive into this book with the deck, and this I cannot rave enough about. Again, this author's writing style I love. I've learned so much from this and feel like I'm going to be using this along with the deck, along with the first book that I showed, on an ongoing basis and further down the roads for a further deep dive and revisit. Next, you'll see or hear in the future, my next one is going to be starting probably next week. Yeah, I kind of a glutton for punishment, but next year's going to be even more of a glutton for punishment because I'm going to really buckle down and buckle in. But I'll get to that at another point. We're only in August. Don't want to rush the rest of the year or time, going by fast enough as it is. So, yeah, it will be my actual one. Getting to that point would be I'm going to be doing the Nameless One Tarot deep dive. So by Zia Hunt, a amazing deck. You'll see her coming up in the near future. Another high magic deck just like this one. Yes, I like connecting and learning, and of course going sometimes a little bit overwhelming and above my head, but what can you do if you don't challenge yourself? That's what life should be. And if this just to show you the inside real quick, it's got some cards. This is it's got different chapters and knowledge, as you can see. So yes, a lot to this. Definitely worth the investment, and definitely worth and a recommendation out of many spiritual and tarot books. I wish a lot more of my tarot books were a lot like this, where it is technically what I consider a 301, 401 book, and also a 101 at the same time. A lovely, beautiful balance of that. By someone that is obviously intimately familiar with Crowley's works and knowledge in the deck itself. Plus, I always like personal attestations to different things, like my job says. Yeah, but yeah. Don't want to get on with my work, because tomorrow's my day to work. And we all know how much, if you watch my previous videos, how much I love my job. Note the sarcasm, but need an income, and need to support my tarot and oracle and crystal habit. And what next is, I know this video is getting long, so I hope you bear with me for at least a few more minutes. It would be greatly appreciated. Again, this is also to state of my commitment of filming more, learning more, and putting myself out there more, and to grow and share my gifts. So this is the crystal I use with the Crowley Thoth, my Crowley Thoth deck. It is a skeletal Herkimer. She's a very high vibration, highly spiritual, higher self, deep, high consciousness crystal. She's deeply connected to the spirit realm, to deity, and to my deep intuition and knowledge. So it is a rare specimen, and this one just seems to resonate so well with this Crowley Thoth deck, my deck. So she's the personal crystal for that. Not all my decks, not many of them at this point, have crystal pairings. I do use crystals in my practice on all levels on a daily basis. They are one of the magical tools and aids and anchors in this life that I insist on, besides tarot and oracle. I cannot live or leave home without some form of crystal, or do my job, or function day to day. and also to do how I learn and grow from them. And I also do read, if you do watch some of my previous videos, I do intuitively what the crystals tell me and crystal readings and knowledge besides what I do with them on a physical, spiritual, healing, or emotional level. And with that, I know this is getting longer, but again, here we go. I'm just going to show some of these cards real quick. So be patient. I just figure since I'm talking about that, I'll show some of my favorite deck. You'll hear me mention it now, past, present, and future probably 1,000 times at least. Look at that beautiful backing with the... Look at that backing, is amazing. Okay, 7 of Wands. Four of Discs. The discs or pentacles in this deck. Wands are wands, of course. 9 of Cups. My nemesis. If you watch my previous videos of any of them, you'll hear me always mention my friend and foe or frenemy, the Tower. She's disturbing, scary, beautiful and haunting at the same time. Fiery, the all-seeing eye above that coming down like the Tower. I call it like the Tower of Babylon. Yes, I'm learning more and more about this card and have learned so much more about this card and its meanings and the symbology in this card for this deep dive. But it's helping me to show further respect for this deck, further respect for this card itself, and the good and the bad. And it's teaching me so much, this deep dive has, about the Tower and its energy and how I experience it and feel it, and how it's also related to my shadow. And that's why I probably have reverse reactions to it, but I am getting more positive and becoming more enlightened because of it. I just figured to take extra time with that one since I mentioned it so much. That's the Tower card that started it all for me all those years ago. Oh, look at that lovely Knight of Swords. So the Cups has been haunting me recently and stalking me. Look at that Princess of Discs. She's a beautiful card. So much thought, so much energy, so much intention went into this deck. Chariot. Look at the colors on that and those sphinxes. I love the power behind that card. You see, Prince of Wands. Ace of Cups. Let's see if I can find real quick. Here's the Hermit of the major arcana, as you can see. There's just so much when you read. If you read more into what these cards are and what's in them and look into them, I found so many new things that I have missed in this deep dive that I've not noticed throughout all these years. Be amazed each time you look at something new, how it changes your perspective and your feelings and relatability. Here's one of my favorites, the Magus, of course. Look at the work of art on that. Let's see. I love the Lovers in this. and how much I've learned a very little touch edges of alchemy because of this deep dive too. It's a very alchemical card, and one of the most amazing, lovely, enchanting lover cards and deep meaning cards on so many levels that this card has always felt for me, and that I have only learned so much more, as I mentioned, by this recent connection and study I have done. I'm so glad that I've done this. I should have did this years ago. But for the dinner road, I will revisit and do even more. Let's see if I can find, let's see. Say about this real quick. Oh, this is one of my other favorite cards. The Two of Discs. Look at the colors in that were chosen. The yin and yang symbols, which is appropriate for this card. But look at that serpent. The ever cycles of birth, life, death, and rebirth. The Kundalini energy. The constant yin and yang of life and change and flux, and of course the serpent. I work very highly with serpent energies, and I'm hoping to learn and grow more about the serpent energies, the Kundalini energies, and such. It's just such an amazing thing, and has a lot to do with Hecate, which we know is my patron goddess. And yes, serpent is an all-powerful being. Quick, I know this is getting up there, trying to keep under 30. Oh, here we go. The moon. That moon. I'm big into, it's very, to me, a very Egyptian. Look at those. That's one of my favorite moon cards of all the decks I've owned and I've seen of all time. One of the favorites. To this Wheel of Fortune. And here's the one I was just waiting to see, and then I'll close it. There's where you can see I mentioned the love, the damage, and using ritual. Years ago, when one of my small altars that I had, I used this for magic because, of course, I big on transformation and death energy and rebirth. I used this deck, and it got burned. It fell on a candle and burned. So yes. But I can't bring myself to retire this deck. I just find that it brings it more character. Just like myself. A bit beat up, a bit worn, but beautiful and haunting. And has not taken away from any of the integrity of the deck, or what it does for me. So yes. So with that, that's one of the most amazing yet scary death cards. But again, death and change and endings and cycles is never something easy to accept in this life, whether it be physical death or loss of someone or a situation or unexpected change. But that definitely is one of the best depictions, and there's so much can be meditated on and connected with that deck. That's why it has a burn in it. But yes. So again, I want to thank you all for watching this video. Sorry, so long and so rambly. But yes, just figured I would connect something to show a few cards from my spirit or my main deck that I have mentioned several times previously, what I was currently working on, which was studying these books, reading in a deep dive into this deck, which I will further down the road. I'm going to continue to work with this deck, obviously, but I'll do a further deep dive down the road and read the Book of Thoth, and other works by Crowley, and to revisit all that in the future with the current knowledge and bonding of this deck. This whole experience so far in these past couple months was like getting to know something. It was like a person all new, but getting to know my spiritual ally and my guide and my assistant and my teacher on a whole new level. And I have a new reverence and respect for this, and appreciate all this that Crowley and Harris brought into this world, and that it actually was, that I had the ability to have it reach me and teach me and show me new layers of myself and life and new guidance, and help me to help advise others, to help heal and guide others and empower them as it empowers myself and on my spiritual work and level. And with that, again, thanks for watching. Check out my Instagram, Little Miss Girl 79, my tarot reading page on Facebook, which I got to do a hell of a lot more with, is oh wow, under a Dark Moon Tarot readings. And thanks for being patient with this. Please like and comment and subscribe below if you have any comments about the deck or any questions about the books or anything else for me. Please feel free to comment below. And again, hope this finds you all well, and blessed be.